When you start investing, it can be super daunting to understand the order of action that you should be taking with your hard-earned money as you try to make it work as effectively as possible for your financial future. Should you pay off all your debt? Should you invest first? Which account goes first? Quite frankly, it can be super daunting. And it's not uncommon for me to talk to a client who, after years of hard work, is now a high income earner. And I take a look at their accounts and they have cash and investments in different accounts with no cohesive plan on how these accounts should be working strategically together. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you which accounts you should be investing in order, and keep in mind this list should be used as a litmus test to see if the steps you're taking with your money are helping you have the most effective journey towards financial freedom. But first, if you're new here, hi, I'm Stephanie, and welcome to the Permission to Be Wealthy channel, where my husband Joseph and I have open and honest conversations about what it's like to build wealth, to invest, and to pursue financial independence. We are now a debt-free millionaire family of four, now living in Portugal and designing our life on our terms. So let's get into the list, the order of investing operations, so that you can start taking your notes and start acting strategically with your accounts. First things first, and this is a non-negotiable, you need to have a contingency fund. And this fund is critical because life happens. You could have an unexpected car repair, home repairs, all sorts of things. And this contingency fund being established will help you not have to rely on high interest debt in the case that an emergency expense comes up. The average credit card right now has an interest rate of 16% annually. So if you don't have a contingency fund, my recommendation is to get 1 month of living expenses saved up as soon as possible. And then depending on your personal finance situation and your life situation, you should have 3 to 6 months eventually saved up in at least a high yield savings account. I have a link to Bankrate's monthly HYSA list that they publish and update every single month. It's in the description below. Step number 2 is to go and get that 401k match. And I look back at my 22 to 23-year-old self and I'm like, dang, Steph, you actually did something right back then. And for me, that meant only investing about $50 a paycheck when I first started working in tech. And now this account has $350,000 in it and will grow to cover my living expenses even in retirement without me having to put in a single additional dollar in the future. So why the match? Think about it. If your employer matches your dollar for dollar up to a certain percentage, that's like getting 100% return on your money. Plus, if you don't invest up to the match, you're essentially leaving part of your benefits on the table. Here are a few additional things to note about the 401k. Contributions are tax-free. Any gains on your 401k investments grow tax-free. And you pay long-term capital gains on your withdrawals in retirement, which are lower than any ordinary income tax rates. And you'll want to check with HR to make sure that you have the full details on what your 401k plan provides. Vesting schedules and other details are wildly different between different 401ks, different companies, and different providers, so make sure to do your due diligence. Step number 3 is to make sure that you have a plan for any equity compensation that may come your way. And as you become more tenured or senior at your company, these forms of compensation may become more common. So not only do you need to understand them, but you need to have a plan for what you're going to do with them. A few examples of what equity compensation could be are restricted stock units, which are performance-based awards that a company grants an employee in the form of shares, and an employee stock purchase plan, which gives an employee the option to buy stock at a range of discount. This could be anywhere from 5 to 15%. During my last 5 years in tech, I started getting awarded RSUs, and I was awarded over $300,000 worth of RSUs that I eventually sold after they vested, and I flipped them into my brokerage account, of which I took them out of an individual stock and invested them in a more diversified index fund that was matching my goals. Remember that each type of equity compensation has its advantages and disadvantages. You're typically given a period where you can accept an award if you're given it. So be sure to talk to HR or a fee-based financial advisor or coach to make sure that you clearly understand vesting schedules, tax implications, and other restrictions that may come up with these forms of equity compensation. I also did an RSU deep dive in a podcast episode that I've linked in the description below. Step number 4 is to get effective with your debt, and that means getting effective with your high interest debt, which is 7% or more. When I work with clients on their debt, I ask them to really consider paying off any high interest debt in less than a year or as aggressively as possible more than the minimum monthly payment. Because think about it, anything over 7% is slightly eroding at the ability for you to build wealth over the long term versus investing in something like the stock market that could give you anywhere between 8 to 10% return, depending on what you choose to invest in. I have an entire module dedicated to debt effectiveness. It is less than 5 minutes. It's in my free Kickstart Your Relationship with Money video mini course, and it's linked in the description below. Now, step number 5 is coming back to your 401k to max it out. And in 2024, you can contribute up to $23,000 into your 401k, and that max amount is updated annually by the IRS. Now, for me, when I started to max out my 401k, I was now a high income earner, and a Roth IRA wasn't an option for me anymore. But the interesting thing about my 401k is it had a Roth 401k contribution option. So if your company offers a Roth 401k option, it could be something that you want to strongly consider so you can get those tax-free withdrawal options later in retirement. And I like to use this analogy. I would rather pay taxes on the seed versus have to pay taxes on the tree and the fruit that the tree actually creates whenever I'm actually in retirement and not having to pay taxes on the larger thing. I did this during my last 3 years in tech, and I definitely wish I did it sooner. For step number 6, you want to max out an HSA. And for 2024, an individual can contribute up to $4,150 and families can contribute $8,300 annually. This is an account that has a triple tax benefit, meaning that your contributions are tax-free, the growth on your account is tax deferred, and if you use the withdrawals for qualified medical expenses, those are tax-free as well. There are a few eligibility requirements in order to use an HSA, and one of them is you have to have a high deductible health plan. Every HSA provider has slightly different requirements, so make sure to take a look at that before going all in on one. For us, we didn't have the high deductible health plan, so we didn't have an HSA, which would have been nice. Number 7 is a backdoor Roth, and if you're a high income earner with no access to a Roth IRA outside of a 401k, this one is for you. In 2024, the income limits for a direct Roth IRA contribution is $153,000 for single filers and $228,000 for married people filing jointly. And in order for you to do a backdoor Roth conversion, you'll need to follow these 3 steps. Step 1 is contribute to a traditional IRA and make sure that you indicate non-deductible contribution. In step 2, you want to let the funds settle. That typically takes about 1 to 3 days. And in step 3, you want to convert your funds to a Roth IRA and invest them. Don't forget that step. Your broker or account custodian should be able to help you with any questions that you have about a backdoor Roth and any of the tax forms that you need during tax filing season. Now, step number 8 is a mega backdoor Roth, and I created a visual for this one because it can get a little complicated. So if you recall, if you have a 401k, you have the ability of being able to contribute up to $23,000 in 2024. And when you contribute those dollars, they're pre-tax and or Roth 401k contributions to that specific limit. But there's a max contribution limit all in for a 401k, and that's $69,000 annually, specifically for 2024. And if you have a solo 401k, this is an option for you as well, meaning that you have the opportunity to contribute after tax contributions to your account, net your company match. So if your 401k provider and your company offer these following options, this is definitely something to take a look at. So the first is they have to offer after tax contributions, which is the main requirement. And the second, but it's not required, if they offer in-plan Roth conversions, that's even better because that means you can roll your after tax contributions directly into an IRA and then do a Roth conversion in real time versus having to wait years later, and then that has some specific tax implications which can get a little messy. Now, a mega backdoor Roth can be very complicated and can be very daunting, especially if you don't have the in-plan conversions option to do things more real time. My goal in sharing this specific step is to make sure that I put this on your radar so that you can talk to all the necessary people, your CPA, your plan provider, your company, to make sure that if this is the right thing for you, that you take advantage of it so that you can unlock tax-free growth and tax-free withdrawals in retirement. Now, number 9 is investing for your kids. And for us, we chose the custodial account investment route for our children for 2 specific reasons. Number 1, we plan to live internationally for the foreseeable future, and we don't know if our kids are going to go to college in the United States. And second, we plan on teaching them about money and investing very early in their lives. And when they're teenagers, we want them to feel confident so that when they become the age of majority and take over these accounts, not only do we trust them with this money, but they're super confident on how they want to leverage this to continue to build their wealth. So there's a few points that I want to cover on custodial accounts. And the first one is if you're a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, or any responsible adult, you can open up a custodial account with a broker specifically for a minor. You can give up to $18,000 in 2024, which falls under the federal gift tax limit. And when the minor reaches age of majority, 18 to 21, depending on the state that you actually open the account in, they assume full responsibility for the account. Now, I know that 529s also exist, and these accounts are designed specifically as investment accounts for kids to be used for qualified educational expenses in the future. For us, that just wasn't the route that we wanted to go, but I'm putting that on your radar if you want to take a look at that. And number 10 is a taxable brokerage account. And while a taxable brokerage account may not have all the tax benefits that retirement accounts have in them, they play a very specific role in our overall financial plan, especially our financial independence plan when we plan to retire early. We have 2 brokerage accounts of which we are investing in broad-based index funds, and we plan on taking advantage of long-term capital gains, which means when we go to withdraw, we will be paying lower taxes than ordinary income. Now, of course, you can continue on and invest in other things like real estate, venture capital, and other assets. But this list of 10 is a great start to making sure that you are prepared for a long-term investing journey, that your plan is tax efficient, that you're able to pass down generational wealth, and that you're able to enjoy early retirement if you choose to do so. And if you found value in today's video, please like and subscribe to our channel, and I hope today's discussion gave you just a little bit more food for thought on how to give yourself permission to be wealthy.